Hello, vinyl community. Bill here again. And today I'm going to show you some of my jazz collection. And most of it's on CDs, but I do have some vinyl albums to show as well, together with some books about jazz and photography from the 1950s. So if you do want to delve into the United States gift to the world, the music genre called jazz, where do you start? You probably should start in New Orleans. And the person that you want to get to know is none other than Louis Armstrong, or sometimes called Louis Armstrong. And this is a fantastic CD, 4 CD set called Hot Fives and Sevens. So it shows or showcases music of the early 20s and 30s. I think the first recordings on here are from 1925, and the latest ones on disc 4 are from 1930. And yeah, some great tunes on here called, Heebie Jeebies, Potato Head Blues, and Ain't Misbehaving, and some of these days, Rocking Chair, and No, No, Papa, No, and of course, Basin Street Blues. So some great recordings of Louis Armstrong with, quintets or septets, and then the later CDs have him with an orchestra, but you can really hear that trumpet blow. And of course, Armstrong's vocals are unlike any other. So this is a good starting place. Then I think the next thing I want to show is this CD box set called The Perfect Jazz Collection. And in here, we have some true classics. There's a little booklet as well. With a page on each of the albums that's found in here. But this really is a really great starter pack. So yeah, we have Louis Armstrong again, but this one is Louis playing compositions of W.C. Handy, who is credited with the first recording of a tune with the title Blues in it. So we have St. Louis Blues in here. But we've also got Art Blakey. We have Dave Brubeck's Time Out, which was one of the actual track of Time Out was one of the first compositions to show in really the pop charts in the 50s. So a great album that. Then we have Count Basie meets Duke Ellington. And then there's albums by Chet Baker, Thelonious Monk, Sonny Rollins meets Coleman Hawkins. And then moving on, we've got Benny Goodman, George Benson, Nina Simone. And then it moves all the way through to Weather Reports, sort of jazz funk album. And then there's one of our modern day heroes, Wynton Marsalis, with Standard Time, where he plays various jazz standards. And then Clint Eastwood did a film about Charlie Parker, and so the soundtrack from that album is in here. There's also Kind of Blue by Miles Davis, but I'll come back and speak about that later. But this box set cost £50, and it's got 25 CDs in it. And I don't know how they did it, but they've got, you know, albums from Columbia, from Verve, from Blue Note, so RCA Victor, etc. So it's not a compilation or a collection that just showcases the best of one particular jazz label, but instead it covers all bases. And if you only wanted to, well, if you wanted to have 2 jazz pieces in your collection, you should have this and a vinyl copy of Kind of Blue. But I'll come back to that later. Another good place to start is a book about jazz by a guy called John Fordham. And this is my sort of Bible when it comes to finding out about jazz and exploring the different jazz artists, the different jazz eras. And really, it's a good primer for building your jazz collection. So inside, there's jazz timelines. There's things about the different eras of jazz, jazz fusion, free jazz. And then you've got a section on the different musical instruments. And then the jazz giants, so articles about Charlie Parker and Thelonious Monk and Art Blakey. And then the really good thing, at the back of this book, you've got classic recordings. So you get the covers of Billie Holiday and the swing era, Count Basie, and then it moves forward into bebop and then cool jazz and hard bop, and then moving through to Latin jazz and Headhunters, etc. And in the background there, we've got some Mose Allison, who is sort of jazz blues. And he, of course, wrote Young Man Blues, which the Who covered on Who Live at Leeds. And I think Mose Allison said that was part of his pension plan because of the royalties that come in from that recording. So I don't know why that started playing on my phone in my pocket, but there you go. Next up, I have, and these are some more CDs from my collection, and I've tried to do these in chronological order, although sometimes you'll find that some of the jazz collections will feature compositions from the 20s, 30s, 40s, but actual recordings are from the 1950s. And following on from Louis Armstrong, we have Sidney Bechet, who is one of the top early jazz clarinetists. And I understand that he spent quite a bit of his time in Europe and in France with the cafe culture jazz scene. And I think he played in revues starring the dancer Josephine Baker. but he also returned to the States and has played in lots of great bands as well. So Sidney Bechet. And this has got Summertime and St. Louis Blues and another sort of New Orleans jazz classic, When the Saints Go Marching In. Next up, another jazz great, and this is a compilation called The Genius of Charlie Parker. So Charlie Parker, together with Dizzy Gillespie, founders of the bebop movement and music from the 1940s. And yeah, his life was portrayed in a film by another great jazz fan, Clint Eastwood, and it's highly recommended as well. So, Charlie Parker. Ella Fitzgerald, and she produced or sang on lots of great albums in the 40s and 50s. She did a series of albums called the Songbook albums, where she took compositions by individual composers or composer and lyric writers combinations, and did an album on each of those. And it's got, classics such as Let's Fall in Love, The Lady is a Tramp, Embraceable You, Georgia on My Mind, My Funny Valentine, and Putting on the Ritz. I'm really jealous of my uncle because he was able to see Ella Fitzgerald in concert in Glasgow. And that must have been a great concert to attend. But Ella Fitzgerald Gold. Next up, Count Basie and the Complete Atomic Basie. And this is a classic album, and has tracks such as The Kid from the Red Bank, Whirlybird, Little Darling, and there's bonus tracks on here of Silks and Satins and alternate takes of Sleepwalker's Serenade. So next I want to show you a great vocalese jazz album, Lambert, Hendricks and Ross. So this album includes a track called Twisted, which was covered by Joni Mitchell on her Court and Spark album. And they also do a vocalese version of Moanin', the Art Blakey track. And yeah, there's some interesting renditions of Midnight Indigo, A Night in Tunisia, Halloween Spooks, which is a fantastic sort of novelty item with the harmonies, including, ghosts going woo and the like. So yeah, really good. And Home Cooking, where they really cook up a great vocal track. So really good album that, well, three vinyl albums on a 2 CD set, I believe. Next, this album is Saxophone Colossus, and it's by the saxophonist Sonny Rollins. And in the band, we have Tommy Flanagan, Doug Watkins on bass, and Max Roach on drums. And although it's entitled Saxophone Colossus, I believe this is one of the great drumming albums in the jazz catalogue. Max Roach is on fire on this album, really good. So it was recorded in June 22nd, 1956. Saxophone Colossus. Next up, everybody digs Bill Evans. Bill Evans, of course, was the piano player on Kind of Blue and one of the great collaborators with Miles Davis. This has just got some sublime piano music, and yeah, a trio of Bill Evans on piano, Sam Jones on bass, and Philly Joe Jones on drums. And I think this was recorded when I was about 2 years old, but this has stood the test of time and is one of my go-to albums in my jazz collection. Next up, we have My Favorite Things by John Coltrane. And again, Coltrane was one of the saxophonists on the Miles Davis Quintet, and he played on Kind of Blue as well. And this album opens with a track from the soundtrack of The Sound of Music, and is a 13-minute, 41 seconds sort of exploration of the melody of My Favorite Things from that 1960s movie. Again, we've got a great lineup on this album. John Coltrane on tenor and soprano saxes, McCoy Tyner on piano, Steve Davis on bass, and Elvin Jones on drums. More jazz piano, Herbie Hancock's Taking Off. And yeah, Watermelon Man's on here, and Drifting and Empty Pockets, amongst others. So yeah, Dexter Gordon on tenor sax, and Herbie on piano. So we've still to speak in detail about jazz trumpeter Miles Davis. We spoke about Louis Armstrong to start with. Another great trumpet player, Lee Morgan, and the Sidewinder. So one of these great Blue Note albums. And indeed, I think this is one that was selected as one of the top 25 Blue Note albums. I think I've made a comment in somebody else's YouTube video that to my mind, there are no Duff Blue Note albums. They're all of the highest standard. And speaking about Blue Note, let me show you another book. And this is a book, a coffee table book. It's quite a heavy book of photos by Francis Wolff. And Francis Wolff used to hang about the jazz cafes, and also I think he was allowed into the jazz Blue Note studios as well, and took wonderful evocative black and white photographs of the jazz recordings, and some fantastic photographs here of different jazz musicians. And yeah, nothing better than, if you're listening to jazz, to sit down with a book like this and look at the pictures and enjoy the music while you're doing that. And probably a good idea to accompany that with a nice glass of malt whiskey, a Talisker or a Glenmorangie, or one of my favorites is Aberlour's Abuna. And another great jazz photographer was Herman Leonard. And I think he must have been going to the other jazz cafes. But yeah, photos in a similar vein, Oscar Peterson. And I think towards the back, there are some great photos of Miles Davis. It's quite a scary one with the reflections in the shades. So I'm not sure if our friends stateside were blessed with viewing a great car advert in, I think, maybe the 90s or early 2000s. When you get to my age, it's difficult to keep track of time. But Thierry Henry used to feature in adverts for Renault. And Thierry was a really cool guy. He was a wonderful footballer and striker for Arsenal, scored some really memorable goals, fantastic partnership, Robert Perez and Thierry Henry, and great era. But Thierry advertised Renault. But one of these adverts for Renault cars featuring Thierry Henry included the title track from this album, Organ Grinder Swing, by the incredible Jimmy Smith, the sort of organist on the sort of Hammond organ. Wonderful jazz feel to this album. And I really, really liked the track when I heard it on the advert. And I think it took me about a year to track down what the track was. I think this must have been in the days before everything was available on the internet. But Organ Grinder Swing only lasts about 2 minutes, just over 2 minutes, but really great. And then he goes back and does a cover of Greensleeves, one of these sort of medieval folk tunes. So yeah, Jimmy Smith, a great jazz organist. Next, I want to show you Kenny Burrell's Midnight Blue. And this has tracks such as Chitlins Con Carne, Mule, Soul Lament, and the title track, Midnight Blue. And Kenny Burrell and Grant Green are great jazz guitarists. So everybody should have one great guitar jazz album in their collection. And Midnight Blue is one of the greats. A lot of the albums that I've shown have been from jazz's heyday in the 50s and 60s, but jazz, continues to this day. And at the turn of the century, we had a really good jazz female vocalist called Claire Teal, and Orsino's Songs is the name of this album, and it featured the fantastic cover of the Mamas and Papas song, California Dreaming. But there's also, Mountain Greenery by Rodgers and Hart, and I Love You Porgy by Gershwin and Hayward. And Claire Teal also is co-writer of some of the songs in here, including one called Who Bought the Car? And that features a wonderful description of all the extras that Claire wants on her new car. And show some jazz albums that I do have on vinyl. So start off with the great Billie Holiday and Lady Sings the Blues. And yeah, this is one of the great jazz albums. So We have, you know, Wynton Kelly and Kenny Burrell and Aaron Bell, Leonard Brown, and yeah, they've got, you know, the classic protest song, Strange Fruit. And on the B side, you have God Bless the Child and Willow Weep for Me, among others. And a jazz album that I wasn't aware of, but I got this in a Christian Aid Week shop or pop-up shop at Queen's Cross Church here in Aberdeen. And as well as books, they had a few vinyl albums on offer. And I picked this one up, A Flag for Lady Day. And this is a really sweet album. It's from the World Record Club Limited, and has got some standards like Day In, Day Out, A Foggy Day, Just One of Those Things, and They Can't Take That Away From Me. And the vocals on this are just sublime. Now, one guy that I missed out from the CD section was the genius, the great vocalist, Frank Sinatra. And I picked this up from supermarket, Sainsbury's. At one stage was my go-to for CDs. And for a while they did also sell vinyl albums, but in COVID days, that seems to have disappeared a bit. But this is a great sort of collection of the three classic Sinatra albums: Songs for Swinging Lovers, Songs for Young Lovers, and In the Wee Small Hours. And yeah, the Songs for Swinging Lovers has the opening track of You Make Me Feel So Young is just fantastic. And then that's followed by It Happened in Monterey, and then moves through other tracks to Old Devil Moon, I Got You Under My Skin, Making Whoopee, Anything Goes. And then on the Songs for Young Lovers, we have The Girl Next Door, Someone to Watch Over Me, and My Funny Valentine. And then In the Wee Small Hours has that as the title track. And we've got Mood Indigo, and we have Dancing on the Ceiling, and bonus tracks of Three Coins in the Fountain and Young at Heart. So Frank Sinatra. And again, I picked up in a charity shop this album, which has got a complete album in each side of the vinyl. So we have Swing Easy and Songs for Young Lovers. So yeah, really good album on the Capitol record label. One that I discovered in a record shop that sells a lot of secondhand records, a record shop in Aberdeen called Spin. Huge selection of everything from blues and jazz through to R&B and heavy metal and classic rock and Beatles and Stones, etc. But I heard this on the turntable, and they have a great sort of valve amplifier in the Spin shop. And when I heard this Ahmad Jamal at the Black Hawk recording, I just had to go and buy it. So Ahmad Jamal at the Black Hawk, a great jazz pianist. And this record has got, you know, April in Paris and The Best Thing for You, Falling in Love with Love, and Night Miss Blues. Now, we have to finish on a high, and the album that I want to show is Kind of Blue, and this is the 50th anniversary version. So we get Kind of Blue on blue vinyl, and you also get, oops, inside you get 2 CDs which have the album in full plus alternate takes, plus a DVD about the making of Kind of Blue. And really nice. I keep wanting to get these framed, but I don't know if I've got enough wall space. But you get really nice black and white photographs of Miles Davis and facsimiles of the liner notes by Bill Evans, or a letter. And then some more photographs from the sessions. And yeah, I think Miles Davis looks cool, whatever era. And a photo there of Miles Davis and Bill Evans on piano and Paul Chambers on bass. And the bass intro to So What is yeah, one of the showpieces in the jazz catalogue. Fantastic album. And not only do you get all these extras, but there's also another book. With essays about, and I think there's posters as well. So thoroughly recommend this edition of Kind of Blue. So thanks for watching. Enjoy making a jazz collection of your own, whether that's on CD or on vinyl. I think if you try to acquire some of these albums on the original vinyl pressings, then you might be needing a small fortune to accomplish that. But yeah. So I would encourage you to buy some jazz on vinyl and really enjoy this unique genre of music. And yeah, the 20th century US art form, type of music enjoyed around the world. Fantastic catalogue of music. Enjoy, and I'll be back with you before too long with another video.